You may refer to me as his oracleness, his 100% always omnipotent correctedness, or simply as foresighted Lord and Master of the Bridge God, if you so choose now, as about 5 months ago I made this video, Developers versus Players, stating that the greatest threat to Helldivers 2 was the developers versus players mentality. You know, beyond banning people for not liking furries. Granted, I didn't see that one coming, that was a shock even to me, but now that Helldivers 2 has reached mixed reviews yet again, which hasn't quite reached the height of the Sony boycott, mind you, but still, it is rather significant, and the new massive wave of nerfs have washed over the fire weapons, well, I think we can all confidently say that Archer's take has yet again aged extraordinarily well, as Helldivers 2 concurrent players has fallen quite a bit. Now, to be fair, 30,000 concurrents is still absolutely amazing for virtually every single game, and this is like half a year after release. This is nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever, but look at this. There was like almost 500,000 people playing initially, and now we're back to like 30,000 with a brief bump there with the release of the new mechanics, everybody checking them out, and now we're back on the way down yet again. The game is still absolutely healthy, relatively speaking, but compared to the height of it, like Helldivers 2 was a cultural phenomenon. It was one of the biggest game releases ever. Like, it was on a trajectory to rival the likes of Grand Theft Auto. Arrowhead Studios had a virtually unmissable victory here on their hands. They could have dictated terms to virtually anyone they wanted here. This was a success the likes of which to create legacies from, entire franchises. This was the kind of absolute meteoric rise to power that by all rights should have spawned movies and television shows. And instead, we're here. And why are we here? Well, for this exact reason. The Helldivers 2 developers could not get over themselves for two main reasons. The one is the balance changes. See, it's very easy to understand what players actually want out of a game like Helldivers 2, which is being told to the developers again and again. What Helldivers want is to go down to a planet, kill an assload of bugs, feel like they're fighting against an overwhelming horde with whatever weapons they choose, mind you, as well. They want to bring whatever they want, whatever artillery barrages, whatever mechs you want. You have an X amount of slot, okay, fill them with whatever. An absolute unleashed devastation upon the enemy. They want to call down artillery barrage and get like 30 kills. That's what people want, and at the end of the day, they want to go back into orbit and be showered with rewards as you got 500 million kills. Ding 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 ding, look at all the cool shit you got. It's really rather simple, but instead, what the developers want is, oh, you need to struggle more. Oh, we don't want you to have it easy. Oh, we want to give you more big, tough enemies that you can't kill. Oh, we want to force you to do positioning stuff and nonsense. It's just not as satisfying. Well, what do you want to do? If you really want a more difficult experience, instead of having bigger and more annoying enemies to deal with that might require very specific weaponry or loadouts or positioning, just add in more enemies, add in more little bugs, make the player feel as if they're being overwhelmed, as if they're desperately hunting for ammunition every moment, make them consider bringing more ammo drops instead of the artillery, if anything. Because at the end of the day, all the player wants is to hold down the trigger finger and kill stuff. That is the entire nexus of the video game. And continuously nerfing stuff in a PvE game will do absolutely nothing but foster this developer versus players mentality. And here's the thing too, the players will always win. Whenever you think you've gone like, oh, we've fixed this weapon, now they can no longer abuse it, they're just going to move on to the next weapon to abuse. Whenever you fix that, they're going to move on to the next weapon to abuse. They'll min-max or number crunch it to the point where they will break virtually every single item you've made unless you nerf them all into the ground. And this comes after the developers promise to stop doing this nonsense as well. You've just got to allow people to have fun with their video game. That was all you needed to do. And hey, again, you've still got a slam dunk success on your hand here, no doubt about it, but already you're beginning to see the malicious rumors. For example, the rumor going around, the conspiracy theory now is that, they release a new Battle Pass style thing with fire-based weaponry as the main theme, and then they nerf flame weapons. Could it be that the ones in the new update are actually better? Could it be that they're trying to force us back into the game to grind for it, now that they noticed where we liked flamethrowers? Could that be the case? Who knows? But the more you antagonize your players, the less goodwill you are going to be receiving. This is hardly rocket science. And again, I remember talking about this upon the game's first release, when they started doing just a couple of minor balance tweaks, like, why are you even bothering in a PvE game? Nobody is asking for this. If anything, just up the difficulty. The guns are too good? Alright, add in another difficulty level with twice the number of enemies. They still figure out some way to abuse it? Alright, another difficulty level. Now we've added in twice the number of tough enemies as well. Or maybe we add in special spawns like uber big guys that comes in pairs, titans and so on. There is always a way to make the balance you have work, and taking power away from the player is almost never the correct option. And of course, there are complications with simply adding in more enemies as well. Hardware limitations, for example. Absolutely. But again, this is the developer's task, to make a good and fun video game. And you don't do that by constantly taking shit away from your players. It reminds me of a scene from Band of Brothers, excellent television series, which I'm sure you've all seen, I hope, where one of the officers is playing poker or something with the enlisted men, and one of his superiors pulls him away and says, never put yourself in a position where you could take from these men, because they will dislike you for it, is the obvious implication there. Games development is the same thing. Whenever you should never place yourself in a position where you can take from your players. And if you absolutely have to, you should be as careful about it as possible, and you should do it as sparingly and rarely as possible. And if you have to do it, give them something else in return. Give them something to ameliorate the beatings. Give them a carrot along with the stick. This is a lesson that so many games developers simply don't seem to learn these days, as this is, hardly a unique problem to Helldivers 2. One of my previous favorite game studios, Games Labs, creating really interesting games like Ultimate General Civil War, for example, did this again and again and again, where they would create a scenario, the players would beat it, and then go on the forums and go, lol, you think this is difficult? I cheesed it in 10 minutes, And the developer, molding and seething, would then make the enemy harder, so that 99% of players would now go, this is goddamn unfair. Holy shit. Are you kidding me? They just spawned another 10,000 soldiers at me. What the fuck? Because the things you do to hurt the 1% is going to make the 99 dislike you a lot more. Now, it's still not too late in all too likely. Let's say you've got 30,000 concurrents. That is still a dream scenario for the overwhelming majority of games. You've still got a game with tremendous meme potential here. You still have a game that became a cultural touchstone. Arrowhead. I know you're a Swedish company, and I know you're a cooperative, which explains a lot with your community managers, which is your second giant Achilles heel, by the way. Lying about your detractors, saying they are sexual assaulters, or banning people for not liking furries. This, too, is not an excellent way to endear yourself to your community, or lying about your non-political stance, for example. But you still have a chance here. If you only actually turn to your players and give them what they want instead of what you want, the sky's the limit. For God's sake, grab the ladder. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.